So the first trailer for Pixar's next movie, Hoppers, just came out recently, and I figured I might as well make a quick video going over it. Hoppers was a movie that was announced back at D23 2024 as another original movie for Pixar. While D23 was going on, I made a couple videos going over the different announcements, not all of the announcements, but a few of them, the ones that really interested me. I made a video going over the Snow White remake's first trailer, I made a video going over Toy Story 5's announcement, and I made a video going over Incredibles 3's announcement. I think in one of these videos I acknowledged Hoppers, and I thought it was interesting I guess, but there wasn't really much for me to say about it because we knew nothing about the movie, and so I didn't know if I could be able to form an opinion on it just yet. I needed to see more of the movie in order to form an opinion on it, but now we have our first trailer for the movie, and I'm able to form an opinion on it now, and I've gotta say, I'm quite surprised. I think this movie looks pretty good. My initial fear with this movie was that it would end up being a little too derivative of 2022's Turning Red when it came to its storyline. When the movie was first announced, we got this brief synopsis of a girl who switches brains with a beaver. She puts her brain into a beaver in order to get an idea of what life is like in the wild, out in the forest, or something along those lines. I looked at the whole girl turns into animal thing, and I know that she doesn't turn into an animal, she puts her brain into an animal, whatever, tomato. I looked at that whole thing and I felt like, okay, maybe this is a little bit too similar to Turning Red, combined with the fact that a red panda and a beaver do share a few similarities, and I was worried that this movie could end up being derivative of Turning Red in some way. With this trailer though, I've gotta say, it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. This is going to be nothing like Turning Red. From what we've seen in this trailer, I think this movie looks really good. I think this has the potential to be a fun movie. Of course, though, the main thing that I want to focus on with this movie is whether it will be successful or not. I already went over this when I talked about Gato, but I figured, it wouldn't hurt to go over it again. Pixar's newest movie, Elio, has been flopping hard at the box office, and there are a multitude of reasons as to why that seems to be the case. And so I mainly want to focus on the advantages that Hoppers seemingly has that Elio unfortunately didn't have. I'm not saying any of this to be like, oh, Elio is a bad movie, Elio is gonna be the worst movie of the two. I mean, maybe it will be, I don't know. I'm just acknowledging that, okay, there are advantages that this movie has that Elio doesn't have, and I think there is a chance that this movie could be successful, unlike Elio. Mind you, I'm saying all of this as someone that liked Elio. The first thing that I want to focus on with this movie is its art style. Now, in recent times, there's been this growing debate surrounding Pixar's movies and the art style that they've been using. They used it in 2021's Luca, they used it in 2022's Turning Red, and they used it in 2025's Elio. They also used it in Win or Lose, a Disney Plus original show that they released earlier this year. Online, there's been a growing backlash surrounding this animation style, with many people believing this isn't Pixar. This art style feels very generic and uninteresting when compared to the art style that Pixar's older movies had, with a lot of people comparing it to the infamous Grubhub commercial that was a meme a few years back. This also feels like a sort of resurrection revival of the infamous CalArt style debate from a few years ago, where a lot of people claim that every cartoon looks exactly the same. Soft edges, bean mouths, that sort of thing. And this is kind of like the modern equivalent to that. This is like a revival of that. One of the main reasons why people think Elio flopped at the box office was just because it didn't look very interesting. The trailers didn't do a very good job of making the movie look like it's anything special, and the marketing for the movie, from what I've heard, was pretty bad, which I imagine did not help matters out at all. Elio looked like a movie that was for kids and only kids, and that wouldn't be a bad thing necessarily. if it weren't for the fact that Pixar's older movies were for audiences of all ages. A kid could watch the first 3 Toy Story movies and find them entertaining, and then an adult could watch the first 3 Toy Story movies and also find them entertaining. A kid could watch Up and have fun with the idea of a man tying millions of balloons up to his house to have it float away, and then an adult could watch Up and they could be moved away by how beautiful the opening scene is, how tragic it is. The Incredibles is arguably a movie that you could appreciate a lot more when you're older compared to when you're a kid. When you're a kid, you think The Incredibles is a great movie. When you're an adult, the dark themes that this movie has really hit you out of nowhere. You watch The Incredibles and it's like, damn, Pixar could never make anything like this ever again today. Elio in comparison just looked like it was a movie for kids, and that was it. It didn't have any appeal towards adults at all. Hoppers, I think, looks like a movie that families could enjoy. Not just kids, but also adults. It seems like a movie that anyone of any age could find funny and enjoyable. And I think the art style for both movies plays a part in this. Elio looks like a movie for little kids, and as a result of that, it doesn't have that universal appeal that older Pixar movies had. Hoppers looks like a movie that the whole family can enjoy. Adults can have as much fun watching the movie as kids. And the art style, I think, complements this. The art style for Hoppers, the human characters, it's like the main girl character, she looks like your typical Pixar character, but she is a little bit stylized. She retains the same traditional art style that Pixar characters have had, but there is a little bit of a stylization going on. And then the other human characters, I feel like they're to a greater extent, they have this stylization. And then you look at the animal characters and they are especially stylized. The Grubhub-esque art style that Luca and Elio and whatever have is nowhere to be found in this movie. Now obviously it's not just the art style, it's also the writing for the movie that plays a part in the movie being commercially successful, to have audiences want to go and see this movie. But just looking at like any poster or artwork or whatever for Elio, and it gives off like a very little kid feel. Like it's only for little kids. It's only really going to appeal to little kids, and that's it. It has this generic baby cartoon look to it, and then Hoppers looks like the whole family could have fun watching it. I don't know, that's just the way that I look at it. I know that not all of their projects have been using it lately, but I'm glad that this is not going to have that Grubhub art style, okay, because it's terrible. Well, I mean, okay, it's not bad for Luca. If only Luca had it, there would be no problems at all, but then for Turning Red and Elio, it just doesn't look very visually appealing. And then you have that Win or Lose show, which I haven't seen. I've heard it's actually pretty good despite the art style, so, you know, there's that. I don't doubt that it is good, but I'm sorry, this show looks ugly. Alright, it just looks ugly, and that is not something that I should say about a Pixar work. I should not be calling something from Pixar ugly, and yet that's what this show is. Another big reason why Elio didn't perform very well is the fact that it came out in the summer of 2025. The movie was originally supposed to come out in March of 2024. However, it was delayed an entire year to 2025. I understand that this movie was delayed most likely because of the strikes that were going on in 2023, and also because of the different changes that the movie went through. I remember reading something that like apparently the movie did go through a form of development hell, and there were a lot of changes that were made. I think like the original director for the movie was replaced, or I think he walked out, I'm not sure. Apparently there were going to be a lot more LGBT undertones for Elio as a character. Like they were going to straight up make him LGBT, I'm not sure. And then they just completely removed that from the movie, which I'm not going to lie, that kind of does hinder my positivity towards Elio, the final product. But looking past the changes that were made to this movie, I feel like it would have worked better if they released it in early 2025, because early 2025 was a completely empty space when it came to like movies. The first successful Hollywood movie of 2025 would be a Minecraft movie, which wouldn't come out until April. Between January and March, there was nothing. It was just empty, dead space, and that's it. I know that January and February are considered weak months for movies, but still. Prior to Minecraft, the only movie that was performing at all was Captain America Brave New World, which only did okay. It underperformed. It didn't bomb at the box office, but it did underperform. And then, of course, in March, you had the Snow White remake, which has already gone down as an infamous bomb. But I feel like Elio could have been released in this time period between January to March of 2025, and it likely would have been more successful. Having it come out during the crowded summer blockbuster season just prevented the movie from being successful, and Hoppers is thankfully not going to suffer from that because it's coming out in March of 2026. As far as I'm aware, the movie is not going to suffer any sort of competition. The only competition that it's going to suffer from is the Cat in the Hat animated movie, which comes out a week beforehand. And I've got to be honest, I don't see this movie being more successful than Hoppers. I think Hoppers is going to be the more successful movie. On the one hand, Hoppers is an original movie, and there's that whole debate of like audiences don't want to go and see original movies anymore. IP is king, whatever. On the other hand, I don't think the younger audiences really care about Dr. Seuss all that much, to be honest. Plus, the movie itself looks fine. I don't care enough about Dr. Seuss to form a strong opinion on this movie, positive or negative. It looks fine. The trailer has that Apata song that I hate with all of my f***ing heart, but besides that, it looks average. It's gonna be a movie, and it's gonna exist, and there's that, I guess. I don't have anything against it. Mike Myers is still gonna be the Cat in the Hat for me, though. I don't care. One day, all of you will finally be able to appreciate true Kino. I just know it. And then, of course, you have Mario Movie 2 coming out in April of 2026, which will, for sure, be a monster of a movie. It will be absolutely massive at the box office like the first film was. But it's not coming out until April of 2026, a month after Hoppers. Hoppers is early March, Mario is early April. So Hoppers has a whole month to itself when it comes to the family movie market. If Hoppers had opened up closer to Mario Movie 2, like a week before it, a week after it, whatever, then that would be a completely different story. But that's not going to be the case at all. The fact that Hoppers is coming out during an empty period of time for movies, I think will help make it successful, or at least more successful than Elio. And finally, when I talked about Gato, I brought up how it had the advantage of having a cute black cat as its main character. And I could very easily see Hoppers being successful just because the main character is a cute beaver. Very adorable, very marketable, just like that. I want to imagine audiences will be more drawn to this movie just because a cute, marketable beaver character. I could very easily imagine kids begging their parents to go and take them to see this movie just because of the cute beaver. And overall, I just think the movie looks more fun. It looks more interesting than Elio. I remember reading something that like apparently there were themes of environmentalism in the movie, and apparently there were like rumors going around that Disney toned down these themes from the movie. And then apparently the director of the movie completely debunked that claim that the movie doesn't have the themes of environmentalism in it. So that's something to bring up, I guess. Also, the director of this movie is also the creator of We Bare Bears, which I've never actually seen, but I've heard is a pretty good show. So there's that as well. To wrap things up, I'm actually looking forward to Hoppers. I think it looks like a pretty good movie. I think it'll be a funny movie. The trailers surprisingly made me laugh. I'll be damned. This movie does have advantages that Elio unfortunately didn't have. And again, I'm not saying any of this to knock down Elio or anything like that. I'm just simply acknowledging that, yeah, there could be reasons as to why this movie will be successful compared to Elio. I'm not gonna lie, I get a lot of open season vibes watching the trailer for this movie, which isn't exactly all that surprising. They both take place in forests, they both focus on animals, it's not surprising. No duh, this reminds me of open season in some way. But I mean, like, open season is peak, so, I'm not complaining, man. I'm not complaining at all. Anyways, that's about it. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to like, and if you're new to the channel, maybe consider subscribing, as it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you everyone for watching this video, and I will see y'all next time. Adios.